Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 746, Never for Society. We have said that Emily is at one moment the greatest poet of individuality and the greatest poet of society, thinking in many ways much like our comments about Dante when we did the Divine Commedia, that Dante was a very similar kind of poet. Now in many ways we're back to poem 679. You guys will maybe remember this one that we did together. Conscious am I in my chamber of a shapeless friend. He doth not attest by posture nor confirm by word, neither place need I present him. Fitter curiosity, hospitable intuition of his company. Presence is his furthest license, neither he to me nor myself to him, by assent forfeit probity. Weariness of him were quainter than monotony, new a particle of space's vast society. Neither if he visit other do we dwell, or nay, no I, but instinct esteem him, immortality. Now when this poem was first published, it was published in an editorial section of the Letters of 1894. I think that in many ways, this poem is a return as well to poem 303. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door. To her divine majority, present no more. Unmoved, she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. Unmoved, an emperor be kneeling upon her mat. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one, then close the valves of her attention like stone. This closing of the valves of attention will be a huge part of this poem study as well. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hoping you've worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 745 poems. We just finished with Renunciation is a Piercing Virtue. And hopefully you'll be able to place this poem within the context of a number of earlier poems. Now, as we've said, Emily is the great poet of psychology. She'll call it the man within. Emily's as well, I think, dancing very much with Emerson's essay like Self-Reliance. And some have read this poem as evidence that Emily is a transcendentalist, as we have defined it in lectures at learnstrong.net. Let's enjoy the poem. Never for society he shall seek in vain, who his own acquaintance cultivate. Of men, wiser men may weary, but the man within never knew satiety, better entertained than could border ballad or bisque and hymn. Neither introduction need you unto him. Now, the syntax here is a little strange. Notice we go from never to never. Never for society he shall seek in vain, who his own acquaintance cultivate. Now, think about the game that Emily is playing here with, of course, the Delphic Oracle, Know Thyself. Think about the idea that the most important thing Emily believes a poet can do is to have themselves as their own society. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door, you'll remember from 303. Never for society he shall seek in vain, who his own acquaintance cultivate. Of men, wiser men may weary, right? But the man within. In other words, if you are comfortable with yourself, Emily the psychologist will argue, then you will never be weary. You'll always have something you can rely on. Think about the power of this as Emily, who spent so much time alone with herself. If you will, her contemporary, you'll remember Thoreau said, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately. I think Emily would argue, I went to my bedroom to live deliberately. I didn't need to go to Walden Pond. I could do it right there because I learned to understand the man or the individual or the woman within. Never, she says, will know satiety. If you can know yourself, you will never know satiety. By the way, we'll see satiety again in 807, 1036, and 1678. Those are the other poems where the word will get used. Notice capitalized. She says it's better to entertain. By the way, we'll see entertaining here in the next poem, 747. Better entertain than could border ballad or Biscan hymn. Of course, Biscan related to Spanish hymns, right? Her argument being that if you are capable of enjoying the man within, the person within, knowing yourself, by the way, we'll see it with myself, denounce myself in 747, the next poem. She says, it's so much better than any other ballad that one might find. Neither introduction need you unto him. If you know yourself, you don't have to know anybody else, is her argument. This sounding very much like Emerson's ideas in self-reliance. I think the point here for her is that the goal, especially of the artist, is always to be conversant with oneself, the man within, to know oneself. And to be, well, the syntax is interesting in the opening line. Notice how she's playing with grammar to make you have to slow down to get to the point that she's making. At 3a, to relate this, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. I think, think about the play Hamlet. And what is it Polonius says to Laertes in 1:3 of Hamlet? And this above all to thine own self be true, and it follows as the night, the day, thou canst not have any faults to any man. We've given full lectures on it at learnstrong.net. Ironically, of course, Polonius himself violates the very rule that he's sharing, but I think Emily was very impressed by an idea like that. In the end, that's what the great poets all do, is they somehow strive to know themselves. Finally, at 3b, it obviously is the question, how well do you know yourself, the man within? And to what degree is Emily helping you get there? I hope so. Thank you.